And CBD Talks with Dr. Dance is brought to you by Rock's Place Hempworks. Find them at www.rock4cbd.com. And Pet Club 24/7, a pet lifestyle and supply company. Find them at drdance.petclub247.com. Also, Las Vegas Health and Fitness Chamber of Commerce. VegasHealthFitnessChamber.com. Many of the topics and articles you will find at CBD Talks with Dr. Dance at cbd-talks.com. Okay, today we're going to talk about the regulations that are related to the 2018 Farm Bill. I went into extensive elaboration and explaining the Farm Bill last time, and because there was so much misinformation, or people are just still confused, saying that hemp-derived CBD products are illegal and we can't deal with that. Okay, once again, I want to clarify. The CBD products are legal if they're hemp-derived from the industrial hemp. Now, some people said, oh, you don't want industrial hemp. No, you want industrial hemp that has been grown specifically for the health benefits of CBD. And so what I'm going to do today is actually talk about the organization called the U.S. Hemp Authority. It's a nonprofit, and they have created a certification program. Organizations go through rigorous testing. They go through a series of applications. They have to prove that they are doing certain things. They have to show where they are following and meeting certain criteria. And on a previous show, I indicated that in the Forbes article that was just released in April, 13 companies received that certification. Out of the thousands that are available in the country and around the world, only 13 organizations have now received that certification. But I think it's important that I go through what is that certification process? What does it really mean? Because they put out a full 48-page, no, I'm not going to read 48 pages for you, but it's a 48-page document. And if you want to see it, once again, go to cbd-talks.com to find the entire document. You can download it there. I have it on that website. But what we're going to do today is actually talk about the U.S. Hemp Authority Certification Program. And that's the cover, and that's what it looks like. This is a 48-page document, and I'm going to go through the different sections. And what they have done with the certification program, they have divided it into two different categories: growers and processors. And so with this program, as you read and go through it, you'll see the strict regulations that you have to have through this certification program. So let me go through some of the details of this program right here. I'm just going to go through some of the processes and what you have to be responsible for if you are trying to get that certification. It's quite stringent, and it really ensures that the products they are delivering, or that we as the consumers are receiving, are of the utmost quality, that they have looked at it from seed to sale, that that product meets exemplary standards of being a quality product and delivering what they promise. So even from the initial application process, you're going to have to go through proving that your processes, because we're going to be talking about two different processes, meet these standards. It starts with just the application process. You have to go through and fill out and complete an extensive application. Then they're going to look at your personnel guidance. Are you training your personnel in what they need to know? Are you giving them the sanitation measures? Are they being trained in this? Are the personnel and employees following safety measures? So we're starting right at the OSHA level, occupational safety level, where they're making sure that those standards are met. And then we're getting into the actual growing. Are you sampling and testing? Are you looking at it? And it gives you actual definitions of what that means. The sampling timeline, that means through the process of what you are doing, are you making sure that the entire process meets those standards? Many times, I don't know if you've heard, the soil that hemp is grown in, because hemp absorbs and grows very quickly, it tends to absorb a lot of the chemicals that are present in the soil. So is your soil quality brand soil? Does it have, has it been certified as clean soil? Yes, we think, yeah, is soil clean? Yes, you can have organic, clean soil. You don't want to have a lot of the chemicals or the minerals that are toxic in the soil. So it should be grown in good, clear soil. What is your pre-harvest sampling procedure when you're looking at the seeds and what you're going to plant? Once again, the soil. Then the handling procedures for pre-harvest, how you're planting it. Are you mixing in fertilizer? Is it straight, pure organic? Are these organic supportive fertilizers that you're using? Because there are organic fertilizers that can be used. The handling procedures of the post-harvest samples. One crucial things that you need to know is that all testing has to be done through a third party. None of this can be internal. Just like the U.S. Hemp Authority, it's a nonprofit. It is not affiliated with any organization. It's a standalone third-party organization that is there to help regulate, guide, and make sure that the entire industry meets certain standards so that we as the consumers can really be confident that what we're getting, especially from a certified hemp authority company, that is top quality. And so I'm really excited about this. And these guidelines came out in November before the Farm Bill was passed, but there were still products on the marketplace. And so they needed to come out, and they were delivered November 28th, and applications had been in the process, and the first round of certifications came out in April as announced in that Forbes article. So let's get back to some of just what is required in the growing process of the certification. Contaminant testing and hemp cannabinoid quantification. That means they're testing to make sure that first the THC is below 0.03%, because that is the designated mark. That is what makes it industrial hemp. You can't, to be legal, have it above that. And if the hemp, industrial hemp, is grown correctly, if it is harvested and bred as it should be, that THC will be so low, it will probably be below that, because in industrial hemp, it's the CBD, the cannabinoids, that are really pushed up in terms of their potency and level in that. If you're dealing with a cannabis marijuana plant, the THC is pushed up. So it's just making sure that the potency is quantified and the purity and contaminant levels are tested. And this is just in the growing process. We haven't even gotten to processing yet. And then, okay, so you harvest your crop. They're looking at, how are you storing it? How are you distributing it? How are you packing it? We're not talking about leaving it once you harvest it. They're also looking at post-harvest. Are you storing it in the right environment? Excuse me, or is it being packed up the right way so that it doesn't get moldy or things like that? So it's just like you would think of your own foodstuffs, how you treat and handle your foods. They are doing the same thing with these hemp harvests. And then finally, record retention. Are you keeping a record of what you're doing? Because frankly, how can you test and get certification if you haven't kept a complete record of from seed to harvest? And so a record keeping is an essential part of this whole process in the growing certification portion of that. So these growers would get what is called the growing certification, because generally you have the companies that handle certain portions of the whole manufacturing process. You have the growers that then supply the processors that then supply the what is called storefront or the point of sale companies. Some companies are involved from seed to sale. And one of those is HempWorks, which I mentioned in the show before. They get there and contract directly with the growers, Gincana, in Kentucky. They follow the whole processing, third-party testing, right to when they are now the distributor to their organizations, to their direct sales. So they can actually trace and have a paper trail of every batch of CBD oil and the products that they use, which is wonderful. And that is why Gincana and HempWorks received this Hemp Authority Certification back in April. So the second part of it, I've only been talking about growing the industrial hemp. Then there is a whole series of the processing of it, because talked about this before, there are many ways to process the raw product. Some use what is called the ethanol, or they create tincture where they soak the plants in alcohol, an ethanol type product, a solvent. The best way to process your plants is through a CO2 vacuum. That means it's enclosed within a vacuum process. Most companies don't use that because it is more expensive. Yes, the CO2 process needs a specialized technician that is trained in the entire vacuum processing, the machinery and all of that, and how to test it. They are a trained technician, and the machinery itself is much more expensive. But the end result is just quantitatively 100% better of what you get. When you hear the term tincture, that generally means that the product has been soaked in some type of alcohol solvent. So that's just a little tidbit of what I've talked about before. But even in the processor, yes, they have to go through the same registration, because remember, these are two different processes, or might be two different companies. Yes, one company could be the grower and the processor, but generally in the marketplace right now, you have growers, which are the farmers, and how they are guaranteed that it's organic, and how they harvest them, plant them, how they feed them, and then harvest them and store them. And then that product is sold to the processing company, where they then take the raw material and actually send it through. So a processor would be sitting in an application independent of the growers, and same licensing that they must have. They start with employee training. And I just mentioned, to operate a CO2 vacuum processing, you have to be a trained technician. You have to be certified in that machinery. And so they're looking at, does this processing company offer employee training? Does it have a physical plant and grounds? And what is the quality control within that plant? We're looking at sanitation and specifics to just different management systems and the personnel and how they're going through the hemp laboratory operations. The sanitation and things like that are higher. It's not just about getting the product in there and then processing it. It's looking at, what does your entire system look like? Is it doing what it needs to do? And there's easy ways to check that. And in most, just think of a food operation or where they're processing food. They're putting together packages of vegetables and things. They have to follow certain safety and sanitation guidelines for packaging and everything. So with the processing of the hemp raw products, they have to follow even stricter standards, because this industry wanted to go above and beyond and exceed some of the standards. And so they're looking at all of it in terms of doing a great job. Once it's processed, then they have to go through a whole sampling of every batch that comes out, because, you know, as things happen, batches might change. So they have to prove how they're sampling batches. with a timeline log and grower responsibilities, pre-harvest samples and post-harvest samples. And so it's interesting that not only are the processors looking at pre and post-harvest, but also the growers. And so therefore they're working collaboratively to do it. And then finally, are they sending out their samplings from each batch to that third-party analysis? And so that the whole analysis industry also has been booming because of so many batches are being produced that have to be tested. They're looking for purity and contaminants. Once again, those industries that use the ethanol method where they're soaking have been found to have a much higher level of contaminants within their final products than the CO2 products, because the CO2, they're not adding any external element or solvent. It's straight 100% raw product. So that's very interesting, and, but also they're able to extract it. They're looking at equipment. You know, when I've never really been to a food processing plant per se. I'm just going by what I see on TV. But every part of the system or the equipment that goes through, how are you checking it for safety and for purity and all of those things? So there's a process. Then it even gets down to packaging and labeling. What is on the label? Is it clearly saying and identifying the true product? So once again, we are going from seed all the way through growing, harvesting, processing, labeling, all for the benefit of the consumer. You can be well assured that if your company that you're looking at or the product that you're looking and exploring comes from an organization that has received this U.S. Hemp Authority Certification, and that label, the symbol would be on every bottle, because the symbol or the certification has been issued, each company is allowed to put that seal of approval on all of their products. Look for that seal of approval to make sure you're getting the purest and best products possible. So, rounding all this up, as you're looking for products, we now have the 2018 Farm Bill that has totally put into place systems for manufacturing and growing industrial hemp. And to coincide with this wonderful U.S. Hemp Authority Certification Program is now established as the guidance and procedures for growers and processors. We as consumers can be so confident that what we're getting is quality products. This is CBD Talks with Dr. Dance, and if you want to find any of this material, please go to CBD Talks with Dr. Dance at cbd-talks.com. And we will see you next time.